So is everything going in your guys'
Good.
world?
Oh, good, man. Hold on. Let's say I'm trying to grab my notebook real quick here. Doing good. I had a lot of last week just business with a couple deals falling apart
Hmm.
or just getting clogged up. I got really caught up in chasing that, because it was going back to a lot of negotiation things. So we plus kind of working with our transaction coordinator, trying to get her dialed in a little bit, which she's doing, I think, pretty good. Um, but a lot of stuff just kept going back to negotiations, and they're not, it was a mission along, just a bunch of little stuff. So anyway, just got caught up in a lot of that kind of stuff this week, man.
Okay.
But good overall, not bad. Just I don't feel like I was doing like the marketing like I wanted to be doing. I wasn't generating business. I was chasing.
What you currently have, right? So the number one mistake most agents make is they put more work into their current business and they forget about their past business or future business, right? And when you do that, that's what ends up with a empty pipeline,
Yep. Oh, for sure. For
right?
sure.
And obviously an empty pipeline means no business for a couple months,
Oh yeah.
right? And then that makes you, instead of going 2 steps forward, you take 2 steps back, and now you
Yep.
got 4 steps to make up.
Right.
Right?
Right. So
So,
um
what in negotiations cause you to concentrate on that 100% and not everything else that still need to be done? Because it's still,
uh
if you work 12 hours a day, those negotiations didn't take 12 hours.
no, it didn't take 12 hours. Definitely not. But um so things just weren't getting done. So for example, we have a property that was supposed to close on the 30th.
Okay.
Well, I'm working with the seller to sell the property, but she needs to buy another property and they're supposed to close on the same day. So instead of I'm not coordinating just one thing, everything has to be done double.
Mhm.
So now, I'm coordinating with well actually, that's the thing. So I have my transaction coordinator working on this half of it, but the other part of it is a cash deal. So I'm talking to I got to negotiate more time with another agent. Then I'm going back and forth trying to have my transaction coordinator send out addendums, to reflect this. And then people aren't getting back in touch with me, so I'm doing it multiple times. So it was kind of like chasing. It's not like I just did it and it was done. It's kind of like, hello, where are you guys? 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 Are we going to get this done? Oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let me get back with you. Then I get back, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, um,
Outside of negotiation, meaning okay. So, extending a timeline because it's not going to close on time is not really negotiation. That's just a problem, right? And all that leads us to a statement. We can't close on the 30th. We're going to need XYZ amount of days. Is that agreeable? And that comes down to, let me get back to my client. We'll let you know, right? Or that's no problem at all. That's all can be handled by the transaction coordinator because it's a non-negotiation factor, right? Negotiation is the appraisal came back low, and now we have a price difference of $8,000. How are we going to negotiate that difference?
okay.
But and the closing being extended, that's not negotiation. That's just a problem that just needs to be solved with a simple amendment, right? Fact of the matter is, you just tell the transaction coordinator, draft up this amendment, send it out for signatures, and just throw it out to the other agent. If the other agent has a question, they're going to call you, right? Hey, Shawn, we got this amendment about closing need to be extended. What's going on?
Well, okay, so there's more to it than that also. So as soon as we got to clear the close for one deal, they're supposed to do some work at this property also. So It's a finished basement, but from the inspection, we found mold in the basement. So they're supposed to remove the walls. They haven't removed the walls yet. It's a debacle, man.
Well, that goes now to lack of communication, right? As when there's at my transaction coordinator, anybody who's ever worked with me, there's repairs that need to be done. You need to be following what the up with the other agent, asking weekly, how's the repairs going? Is there any issues that's going to delay closing? Right. So that's a breakdown of communication somewhere through the process. Right. So what you have to look at is there's holes in our process. Right. Because we shouldn't have found out about this last minute. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Last minute is not when you're ever supposed to find
Well,
out.
she's been calling them, but they've been kind of like not
Okay, so when
responsive.
that happens, Shawn, I've been trying to reach out to this person to find out about these repairs. Nobody's getting back to me. I think you might need to step in on this one and see what's going on. Right. So, so when you get into a transaction coordinator thing like this, they're very, very helpful, very lucrative. But getting the process and procedure down and how things are handled is top priority when you first start using them, so they understand what they need to do every step of the way. They need to understand when they need to say, hey, Shawn, I think you need to step in. They need to understand uh, when they can negotiate something, when they can't, right? Because that's a system procedure of communication that has to be understood by team leader, agent, transaction coordinator. How do we handle these situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she was reaching out to them and not getting in touch with them, you should still never find out about it on the very last minute.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a hole in the system. So you take that hole and you say, okay, how do we correct this? Right?
Yeah.
You sit down with the transaction coordinator, figure out what happened. Right? There's no blame here. It's just we're trying to figure out how to make this work smoothly. So when something like this comes up, we don't deal with it on this date when we shouldn't be dealing with it. Right?
So I got a question on that. I get exactly what you're saying. So this is what I put in place to try to deal with that. So we tried to put in place just in the CRM, like she'll update the notes, and if I have something, I'll update the notes. But then on Monday, we kind of go through the transactions that are in, what do you call it? That are in escrow, and I'll just kind of get an update from her of what's going on, on Monday, and then get my input to her. But I guess we were just doing that on Monday and throughout the week. But throughout the week, I'm seeing like nothing's happening.
And
So,
transaction coordinators work daily, right?
right,
They're in those files every day. That's their job.
right,
All they do. So
right.
you'll just touch them on one day. You should be in there daily, making sure that the transaction's going smoothly. If here's the thing is, I tell my transaction coordinator, if you have an important call that has to be reached out to an agent, and that agent doesn't respond, you need to trigger to either call them back in the CRM, make a note, call them right back so you get a reminder. And if that's not working, you need to let me know, and then I'm going to step in and I'm going to say something to the other agent. Say, hey, what's going on here? My TC's been trying to get in touch with you, but you're not answering. What's the problem? All right.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna just take a quick note, Charles.
Sure.
Sorry about that. 1 second.
No worries.
Okay.
All right.
You know, that's good because all right, so here's the disconnect of what you just said. Instead of that, I think what I did was I kind of stepped back in and became the transaction coordinator again instead of saying, "Hey, you're not talking to my transaction coordinator." I jumped in and basically, I'm doing it. Now I'm inputting notes,
Correct.
for her, you know,
Yeah, exactly. You said it. You hit nail on the head. You have to trust in the coordinator and let them do their job. And two people touching the files creates confusion, right? You know,
right,
I if I hired you as my transaction coordinator, I expect you to do the job XYZ this way every single day, and I'm going to put my trust in you to actually do those tasks. And yes, I need to check in on those tasks once in a while to make sure you're doing your job because that's my job as a team leader. Make sure you are doing what you need to be doing. But at the same time, I'm not stepping in there and working on those files for you, right?
right,
Because all that's doing is creating who's supposed to touch this, when am I supposed to touch it, if you're touching it, why are you doing this and not me? And that just going to create a whole bunch of havoc. Instead of just,
right,
here's your job, here's everything that needs to happen in a file. The only time I step in is one. I give you everything. One, if you're getting in touch with a party and they're not returning your call, you need to let me know immediately so I can step in so we don't have any issues. And that's usually between the buyer needed to do something or the lender needed to do something or the other agent needed to do something. They're just not completing that task.
mm-hmm,
Two, when there's an actual negotiation, meaning the appraisal came back low, there's issues on the home inspection, I step back in, right? But outside of that, everything else is on you, right?
yeah,
Making sure things are coordinated with title companies, with home inspectors, make sure we're on pace with all the deadlines and they're not being missed. My transaction coordinators have every single deadline. They have to set reminders 2 days prior to every deadline and the day before the deadline, so they're getting reminders knowing that they're coming up.
right,
They get ding, ding, ding. So they got technically 3 reminders: 2 days before the deadline, the day before the deadline, and the reminder on the actual day of the deadline.
right,
My number one rules are my coordinators they have to set up, right? So
okay,
this way they're constantly being reminded, hey, this deadline's coming up. I need to negotiate this or speak up to the other party to let them know, hey, we haven't heard from you on the appraisal yet. What's going on? Right?
no, that's good. No, that's really good because that's what they need. That's good. I need to when I talk to her today, that's one of the things that I'm gonna address also, to just set up those reminders to do that
Mm-hmm.
as well, because that's the thing. Like, I do trust her, but I'm also have to train her. And if I can tell her to do that, then she can kind of start relying on herself to do that instead of, you know, I don't want her to, like, I think right now she's kind of relying on me, like almost like a reminder type person when she's supposed to be
And you're
telling
not
me.
supposed to be the reminder.
Right.
Because if you're the reminder, you may as well do it yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's not the
Absolutely.
hire. That hire means I don't touch this unless I need to step back in because you're not getting communication back or I need to negotiate something. That's only 2 times you ever get back involved. My transaction coordinator calls the buyer every single week, gives them an email and a follow-up phone call saying, hey, here's everything that's been done so far. Here's what's coming up next. It happens every single week until the transaction's closed, right?
Yep.
So that's their job, right? And I tell them if they don't pick up, you leave a voicemail, you follow it up. I left you a very important voicemail. Please listen to it. And I also sent you an email with your what's been done so far and what is coming up next. So the buyer, remember, stay on top of this stuff because these are things that are important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my coordinator knows if you give the buyer, if the lender calls you and says, hey, we need this from the buyer, and then you start reaching out to the buyer and the buyer is not returning your calls and getting back to you, I said, you have to then make the agent who's the negotiator up to date. And that's the importance where the TCs need to always be CCing any emails that are going out with that agent who's responsible for the file, right? Because then you can actually see all the communications as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's important that you're CC'd on everything, right? And that's the
Right.
transaction coordinator's job to make sure, right? And once you keep working through this, you'll develop that. But the main thing is, team leader has to give up control.
Yep. That I think I had a little, not little. I had a major problem with that this past week. Okay, so you said I'm not doing that for 12 hours. So you're correct. So that's the part of it. But then instead of again working on my business, the other side of it was I did get a really nice opportunity. You know, we got one property listed, last week on Friday, which was good. But, we had to really hustle. I mean, I was there till 10 o'clock at night on Thursday because it just looked a mess. We went actually and staged the property ourselves because I'm like, I can't sell this. It's in a really nice area, Lathrop Village, where people demand the home to look nicer. And
You're asking yourself, Shawn, okay, staging a property, make sure it's clean is important to sell the property. I agree. But is that a $500 an hour activity?
no.
It's not, right? Is it worth $15 an hour?
Yeah, I guess.
So why would you do a $15 an activity when you're worth $500 an hour? So you doing that activity, you gave up $485.
Gotcha.
You have to know when to say, I need help.
Right.
I call a stager and say, hey, I need help. Can you come out and get this done for me? Absolutely, Shawn, I'll be right there. All right? Because now you put yourself into an activity that is not going to give you new business. Yeah, it's going to help sell that property. But when we put all of our efforts into our new business, we're not filling our pipeline for the next business.
Right.
That makes sense?
No, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. It's just hard, like what I'm trying to do, Charles. That's why I'm glad you're asking me this, because I'm like, well, I wasn't sitting around doing nothing. What was I doing? You asked me, I'm like, I don't know. What was I doing? So yeah.
yeah, because when people tell me that all the time, they're like, I didn't have enough time in a day. I'm like, okay, tell me what you did for 12 hours.
Right.
Right? Break it down. Break down your 12-hour day, those days.
Right.
And then I go back to your calendar. I'm like, how much white space was on your calendar where you didn't fill that with an activity?
Right.
Like,
Then I also had it was, like I said, it was a good week. It was productive, but I don't like just busy. I know.
Busy work is not productive, actually.
No.
Right? Production
No.
is I made a conscious effort to prospect and fill my pipeline with new business.
Right. Which
everything else,
yeah,
is work that's hired away. Right.
Right.
I have a transaction coordinator so they can work on contract to close because that's not a $500 an hour activity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I concentrate on just my current business, what am I not doing? I'm not filling my pipeline with new business, so I can't do that activity and fill my pipeline. If I'm out staging properties, cleaning houses, I'm taking care of my current business, but again, that's not a $500 an hour activity. I could have filled that time with getting out there, filling my pipeline for new business.
Well, I did. I'm laughing because I called our transaction coordinator to help us clean the property.
and guess what? And that's not their role.
No. I know.
But guess what? How much a cleaner would have cost you for 2 hours? Probably $100. And they came in there and cleaned the house for you.
Right.
You know what you'd have done that 2 hours? Let's prospect for new business.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Or actually get some sleep so I can prospect earlier.
Yes, exactly. Get some sleep, because you know what's more important than anything in business? It's health.
What? Huh?
It's health. Right?
Oh yeah.
If you don't have your health, you can't have business, right? Because you're being sick and tired and drained, and it starts to reflect in how you interact with customers, and they can see it.
Right.
Right. So getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night is essential for you having a good, thriving health and a good, thriving business, because it reflects well on your personality and how you interact with people, because you got that pep to your step, which you lose when you're extremely tired all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
People see those things in us.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So you have to learn how to know when to cut it off and say, "That's it, I'm done today. My phone's going off." They do have off buttons. They work too,
Right,
right?
right, right,
They do
right.
work. They actually, nobody knows that you can turn those things off, right? They all forget that, hey, I'm done with business today, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that important that can't wait till the next day. You agree?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was just trying to crush this deadline. I really wanted the house to get out to be listed on Thursday. And I mean, we got it done by Friday, but
Here's the thing: is if it's a few days late, is that your fault?
no.
It's
I mean, it really was not. It
that
really
the
was not.
seller didn't live up to their obligations. We're going to help them get it done, but I'm not going to sacrifice my time and business to get it done when the seller's now one that didn't live up to their obligation. So if
Right.
it ended up going to Monday, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, they were supposed to move out of the property. Well, it's not that they were supposed to. They just told me that they were. And
Mhm.
I get there, and there's shoes all over the place, funky shoes. And I mean, we had to go buy Febreze plugins. I mean, it was not presentable at all.
Here's the
So,
conversation. Ring, ring. Hey, Mr. Seller, just wanted to give you a quick call. I was going to stop by the property. Is it ready to go, or do you need a few more days? Because we can always extend the date we go list it.
right.
Oh, it's not ready yet, Shawn. Okay, is there anything we can do to help? I can get you a cleaner that can come over and help you get the property cleaned. I can give you the first hour for free, but you have to pay for any additional time after that if we can help.
Gotcha.
Boom, full control.
No, that's the way I have to start thinking. I mean, it's not even just doing. I have to start thinking that way first right now.
Correct. Yeah, it's the whole thing of not jumping every time a seller or buyer says how jump, right?
Right.
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 It's not letting them drive our car. We drive the car, right?
Right.
Once you can get in a habit of being the driver all the time and not letting someone else just jump in the driver's seat and take over, you'll be able to control your business a lot better, right?
Absolutely. That's good. That's good.
Right?
I feel like that's what I didn't do last week. Although I did do a lot of good things, I feel
Did
like
a lot of
that's
good
what
things, but
I
time
didn't do.
management still was a deterrent of you doing things that need to be done, right?
Hmm.
It's a concentration that we always got to work our current business first and screw everything else. Not that we're trying to do that, but it's a mindset thing. We have to get out of that mindset. My current business is important because we got it there, but at the same time, I can't put all of my effort into this 100% because if I'm doing that, I can't prospect and put new things in my pipeline. That's why we hire people to help. Right? Jared says, right, Jared says, when you first start real estate, there's one hire everybody should have, regardless if you've made any money or not. And that's a transaction coordinator, right? Because there's zero upfront investment.
Hmm.
It only costs you money if you actually close a deal. And that's a fantastic thing about having those transaction coordinators. It costs you when you close. If you don't close anything, you're paying nothing until you do.
Hmm.
But when you get those first closings under your belt, now you can still concentrate on the activities that make you money and not the activities that don't.
Hmm.
The transaction coordinator is an activity that's important, but not at $500 an hour.
Right. No, absolutely. Um, okay, so here's the other thing. I really okay. So this summer I had my son working with me who has went back to school, and that threw me for a loop this week also because so I got the property listed.
Mhm.
Um, but I didn't do the listings to lead with it yet. So I have to do that today, which before I did the listings to leads, I had it going simultaneously because I wasn't doing everything.
How many transactions have you closed this year?
Um, how many transactions have I closed this year? I don't know. Let me see.
That's a number every team leader should know at the spit of the mouth.
No, I
Because
don't
you look
know.
at their
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down because I
you
should
should
know.
know those numbers, right?
I mean, I know I closed 2 this month, and it was supposed to be 4,
Yeah.
but I know I closed 2. Let's see, I closed 2 this month. We did 3 last month, and we did like 4 the month before that. Um, and we did 2 before that. So since we've been working together, we've been averaging like either 2 or 3 closings.
In that sense, you got in coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of the activities you're learning is helping you grow your business.
Well, yeah, definitely.
But
Definitely.
now that you're growing your business, right? You guys are doing the real estate roller coaster ride. You know what that looks like?
Oh, I know exactly what it looks like.
And we got there, and now we're not doing. Say
The
it's
marketing. The marketing.
marketing. We're
Exactly.
not doing the prospecting. We're not doing the shit that got us here.
Kind of. Yes. Kind of.
And we're
Yes.
going, boom. Damn it. We're going to be out of money next month if we don't start prospecting again. Okay, here we go. Back to the top.
Right.
Hey, new business. No more marketing, no more prospecting. Boom. Back to the bottom again.
Right.
Time management is the start of it all. Right? Processes, procedures lead you to better time management. When I get a new listing, XYZ happens. Right? Who's responsible for XYZ? Right now, you don't have an admin. So obviously, it's either you or Christina. Right? I'm going to set it, and this is my procedure. Then you have to determine how long does it take to do this procedure. Right? Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? Put it in your schedule. From this time to this time, I'm going to work on marketing and producing the marketing plans for our listings. Right? So this way, it's on your calendar. You know every single day this is what I'm going to work on. With the remembrance that eventually this is going to be replaced with an actual administrative assistant. Right? Right now, you're wearing the admin's hat because you have to produce enough money to afford an admin, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't produce enough transactions to afford an admin, you're going to always be on the real estate roller coaster. Right? So you have to determine how many transactions do I need a month to actually be able to maintain a $40,000 a year position.
Hold on, I need to write that down. How many
transactions do I need to close a year to maintain a $40,000 a year position? Right? Because right now, what is your average commission check? When you get a commission check after your cost, what is your average check?
My average check is probably about $4,000.
$4,000, okay?
Yeah.
So times 24, that's $96,000, right?
Yeah.
At that point, at $96,000, can you give away 40K? Probably not.
Woo! That's kind of tight.
But okay, so you said, I'm actually, Charles, I'm happy if I can bring home 96K. Great. So then how we get it in transaction coordinator? So now we got 4,000, we'll say times 36. That's 144K. So by increasing by our monthly transactions from 2 to 3 per month, we can now afford an admin.
That's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad.
So we can get on a 3 per month average that at least allows us to afford to bring an admin on. And then once that admin's on board, we'll be able to quickly increase from 3 to maybe 10 a month, just like that, because we're no longer working on transaction coordination. We're no longer working on marketing, social media, marketing, social media, administrative duties, CRM management, etc. Right? Now that means we can go on more appointments and prospect more because we're no longer doing all those activities that are bogging us down, which is why we're not getting to where we need to be. Right. So just by that, I just told you, if you just increase your transactions to an average of 3 a month, you can afford an administrative assistant. And guess what? That administrative assistant is going to cost you $40K, but now just imagine doing this a month times 10. Right? That's $40,000 a month, right? Times 12. You're at $480,000 a year. Minus that 40, right? And then minus that original 96,000 we talked about. That admin allowed you to make $344,000 more than you would have did if you didn't have them.
Right, that's huge.
That's a huge amount of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
At 10 transactions a month, I now have the capital to now pay an ISA $50,000 a year, right? I'm still going to make $294, but that ISA is probably now going to increase us by another 5 to 10 transactions. Now we're doing 20 a month.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer's agents, and then it just keeps going up from there.
Right.
I said something pretty powerful to you. How many transactions do you need to afford a transaction coordinator? So we just determined it's 36.
Right. So 36 and 4. Okay. Gotcha. 36.
Now, when I say 36 transactions,
Mm-hmm.
taking 36 listings. Buyers are just gravy on top.
You're messing with my mind, Charles.
When
That's
you
good.
on
That's really
listings,
good.
your business grows.
Oh, no, absolutely. I agree with you. So here's, okay.
So if you did 2 this month, 4 last month, 2 before, you're almost getting to that 3 per month average.
So I'm getting, it seems like I'm getting more buyers with my listings to leads. So I'm really doing the stuff that you're telling me to do.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it does work. I want you to know it really does. So for example, listed a property, our area is Oak Park, Michigan, ran the listing to add leads, advertisements on it. I also ran a seller. I just went through I didn't do it. I had Spencer was running as my admin, went right down the line. I was checking the Facebook through the ads. The ads are coming to me. We're working them. Christina and I are working them, but it seems like we got more buyer leads than anything from the listings to lead.
Correct. And that's supposed to happen now, because you got to grow your business, to also support buyer's agents, you need to be able to produce buyer leads, right?
Right.
But now for you, so that's good that you now know how to do those. You know you can get buyer leads and you know you can make that very lucrative, right?
Right.
But we now need to really start concentrating on listings at the same time, because if we don't, we can't maintain 36 buyers a year.
Well, that's right. That's most of my business is buyers. So that's what. Remember, you asked what was the other thing I was doing? Showing houses.
Right.
I've been showing houses.
For every one buyer, you can maintain 4 listings instead.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Did you know for every buyer you work with, you have 2 opportunities for a sale? That means you sold the buyer property and you get a referral. That's it, 2. For every listing, you have 5 opportunities for sale.
Mm-hmm.
You sell the house, you help the seller buy a house. You get a referral. You actually find the buyer that buys the house, and you get a new listing from the neighborhood. 5 opportunities. So on opportunities, it's 5 to 2. And on top of it, you can handle 4 listings compared to 1 buyer.
So what is your suggestion to get more listings?
Well, that's why I covered the Core 100 with you last time.
Okay, so the Core 100 is really for listings?
Your book of business is the most important place that you're going to find listings first. 50% of your business needs to be coming from your book alone. That's your SOI, and your Core 100 is part of that. Right? 50% needs to come from that one major source alone. The industry average right now is 20%. of people's business is coming from referrals, and it's pathetic.
I get a lot of listing referrals. The listing that we got was a past client that I kept in touch with.
So you see how keeping your contacts with your past clients, building your core 100, staying in touch with the people who are going to give you listings can really start to increase your listing inventory. So you ask yourself this, Shawn, like, I got a referral from a past client, and all the listings so far I'm getting from my past clients. Holy shit, I think I'm onto something. Charles told me about this. I should be doing more of this.
Right.
Because holy crap, it's actually putting listings on my plate that I wasn't getting before. And it's coming from people who already know, like, and trust me, which actually makes it an easier appointment.
Oh, it's super easy. They show up at the office and they're like, okay, I go over all their options and they're like, okay, well, I want to choose this one. I want to list it,
Exactly. And then from there, if you got once that source is solid, rock hard core, and it's running efficiently, then you say, okay, great. Now how can I get next listings? Right? Okay, I'll go after expireds. Then I'll go after FSBOs. Then I'll go after this. And I go after that. Right? But I can't go after all these things if my core book of business is not
in place. Right. No, that's it. Now you answered my question. I'm glad you said that. Even though I was doing it, I didn't understand exactly why. I'm glad you kind of explained it to me more. I'm just doing it. Like, I'm trusting the system. You know what I mean? Like, Christina and I, we're trusting the system. We're just doing it. But I appreciate
the system's working, but at the same time, you gotta take it and say, okay, I need to make sure this is rock solid, so it's generating consistent business, because you should be looking at your list of names. If I got 100 people on my list, it should be 14 deals.
Right.
If I'm not getting 14 deals from these 100 people, that means I'm not following the system 100% the way it needs to be.
Right. Or I got to switch out some people.
Or there's some people on your list that may never give you a referral. Right? Now remember, how do you, number one thing with your past clients, your SOI friends, family members, people who've currently bought houses with you, what's the number one thing that is important is we need to own their mind share.
Right.
And the only way we can own their mind share is we got to be consistent in our follow through and our contacts with them, which is 40 a year. Remember we talked about that, 40 contacts per year.
Right.
No less than 2 phone calls, no more than 26 emails, and don't spend more than 5% total gross on marketing them through mailings or client appreciation parties, etc. All right?
Right.
Those things matter, because in the end, if you do it consistently, it's going to lead you to 1 deal for every 7 people on your list.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a proven number.
Right.
If you stay consistent. As soon as you back off of it and you start allowing people to lose mind share, you're back to square one and rebuilding it all over again. Once you have that share of their mind, you never want to lose it. Coca-Cola is not going to stop advertising because suddenly they got millions of customers. They keep doing it because they don't want to lose those millions of customers. Right? Do you know when people do searches, they say you need to Google it? Do you know there's more than Google for search engine searches, right? There's Bing and all the other web browsers, but people say Google it. Why? Because Google owns your mind. So think of that concept, right? When someone says real estate, Shawn. Call Shawn.
Mm-hmm.
Until you get people to that point, you're losing.
Right.
The only way to get people through that point is the consistent contact plan.
Right.
And the next thing you know, all those businesses coming from that one section, right? Could you imagine if I had 200 people on my list, that's 28 deals.
Mm-hmm.
If I got 400 people on my list, that is 56 deals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 56 transactions, holy crap, that's a huge amount of business. And that's not including where the other 50% of my business is going to come from when I start doing for sale by owners, expire listings, circle prospecting. But I haven't even got into any of that stuff with you guys yet, because you got to get the one solid system down first.
For sure.
It's about being the master of something and not the jack of all trades.
Absolutely.
right? You
Absolutely.
could be a master of 5 different things, but to become the master of the second thing, you got to make sure to master the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yep.
So now you got to go back, look at your SOI system, go back through it all, making sure that you have every single name that needs to be on that list. Do you have their name, phone number, email, address? Right? Those are 4 most important pieces of information you need to actually make the 40 contact plan work. It doesn't work if you're missing any of that. Right? If you're missing an email, you've lost 26 contacts. If you're missing a phone number, you've lost the 2 most important contacts of the year. If you don't have their address, you're missing out on the marketing end of it, right? You see why it's important to have all 4 pieces?
Definitely.
If you don't have
Definitely.
their name, that means you don't remember who they are and they shouldn't be on your list.
Right, right, right,
Right?
right, right,
Right?
right.
Because how do they go on your list?
Well, it's people that we actually know.
But what's the number one rule that tells you if they go on your list or not?
Basically, if I know them and they know me.
Also meaning if we were to cross paths on the street, we would recognize each other and know each other's names.
Right.
And we've met in person before. That's the rule. If they don't meet that rule, they're not part of your SOI because you're spending money on a relationship that's never going to cultivate because they don't know who you are. So the thing is, can that person who doesn't know who you are eventually become part of your SOI? Absolutely, when you put an effort to make them know who you are, right? And that's lead conversion.
Okay.
Boom, right? Just blew your mind.
Oh yeah. No, no, this is really good. It's actually like I said, we're just kind of going with the system, just doing it. But this so we're missing some information for probably at least 30 to 40% of our people. We're missing something. Like it's something different for everybody. Like some people I have their email and phone number. I definitely don't have their home
Remember in
address.
that SOI book I gave you?
Yeah,
There's that script that you use to call them to get the updated information, right? And
right.
the thing, so that tells me when you guys started going through this, you skipped a step.
Right. Right. Right.
So when a step, think of this: if you were to bake a cake, right? You know, there's certain steps that have to happen to make that cake the way it's supposed to taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the right amount of eggs, right amount of water, the right amount of batter. The oven needs to be preheated to a certain time. It needs to sit in the oven for a certain amount of time. If you skip one of those steps of what the instructions told you, what happens to your cake?
It's not gonna turn out right.
Exactly, it's gonna be effed up.
Right.
Same thing when you're looking at your systems, right? By me skipping the calls to update information, I don't have a complete follow-up plan I can put in place because I don't have their email, so I'm missing 26 important contacts that they could have had. I don't have their address. Now they can't get any of my marketing stuff that I would like to mail them. I don't have their phone number, so now I can't call them because the phone calls are the most lucrative contacts of the whole plan because that voice to voice is what really makes it more powerful.
Oh yeah.
So by me skipping that stuff, I definitely don't have the solid plan in place for me to get one transaction for every 7 names because they're not getting the full extent of what I can do. So you basically got an effed up cake.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Right now, our cake is got lumps in it. We got to go back.
Exactly. So, I mean, yes, you guys understand the system. You're doing some of it, but that system can do better if you complete all of it. No skipping steps in the process. And I'll give you another good example of people who skip steps. And the hiring process, when people hire people, they're supposed to give them a disc profile test, get their resume, do an on-phone interview, do an in-person interview, and check the references, right? most people skip check the references. And the reason why, and they skip to check the reference is because they did well in the first 4 steps, but they forgot that those references will tell you if they're fudging on those first 4 steps.
You know what, man? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I have we have a property management company also, and we go through to screen clients, and it is the exact same thing that you just said. You have to do every single step, and I ingrain that into my property managers. I'm like, and I just missed the step on this same thing because you have to check those references because we have people that look good. They go all the way through, and you check the references, and they're just a terrible client. I mean, terrible tenant. They actually sued the landlord in one case, and that's why they dropped all of the stuff. You know, that's why they didn't have any evictions on them, was because they sued the landlord. It wasn't because they were a great tenant. You know, they had okay credit, but you know, we didn't want
the case just to get rid of it.
Exactly. We're like, you know, this person doesn't pay and they're just suing landlords. Like, we don't want them in there. So, but it was the last step that filtered that one out.
If you just that step, you would have ended up with a tenant, and you would have ended up in the same situation the previous landlord was in.
Right, right. So, no, what you're saying makes sense. Darn.
Good. So what they're going to do today is when you get this call, you can listen to it over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's step number 1, Shawn, is you guys have to change your mindset.
Definitely, man.
Once your mindset is shifted and corrected, then you can really start to make all this stuff grow. Right? Yeah.
All right, man.
We need to schedule our next calls.
All right.
Fine. The week of the 14th, I got 2 times available. That's it.
Is it on the Thursdays like we normally do, or Fridays?
Friday, yes. Friday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central. 12 Eastern on 18th.
Okay. Friday, 12. Let's take that.
12 Eastern. Okay. 1, 2. 31st, I have a 9 Eastern, which is a Thursday.
Thursday at 9. That's fine.
Okay, we're all set for today. So think about everything I just told you today. All right.
And give me that date. I'm sorry, one more time.
Halloween, 31st at 9 Eastern.
31st. Okay, got it.
Think about everything we discussed today. Go back to your SOI plan actually completed in full. Right? Your core 100 becomes part of your SOI. Making sure you keep adding new business relationships to your SOI is very key. Because once that, the thing is, you can imagine if you go from 100 to 1,000 people. You know, if you had 1,000 people in your SOI, you know that's 148 deals a year.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Right?
I'm telling you, I gotta fill in some details, but we really have been doing it this week. I got at least 3 new contracts.